Okay, great. Okay, is there any order we want to go in? Amara, do you want to go first for a change, or do you want to? Okay, you sure? Okay, so we'll just go Amara, then Nicholas, then Samantha, then Sune, and then Wade. So let's just give everyone a few seconds to find us on our Facebook page. Like I say, hello everybody, and welcome back to a new Reader's Warehouse Recommends. I'm Thomas from Reader's Warehouse, and every Monday at 12 o'clock we are live with new book recommendations. And today we're going to be looking at adult titles. How it's going to work is we're going to be doing 3 rounds of recommendations, and in each round, one of these wonderful sales reps are going to be highlighting a title for us. Each title will we be linking in the comment section of this video, the title, author, and link to our website. Joining us today, we have Nicholas Shilangu from Japan Media. We have Sune Rapel from Blue Weaver Sales and Marketing. And we have 2 people joining us from John the Bull Publishers. We have Samantha Jacobs and Wayne Yonkles. And then joining us from Penguin Random House Africa, we have Amara Kabaldi. So thank you all for joining us today. After the 3 rounds, I'm just going to be highlighting our top selling adult titles, and then we'll end the session today. So we're going to start with the first round. So Amara, over to you for your first title.
Hey, thank you so much, Thomas, and good afternoon. It's noon. It's a good noon to the people on Facebook. The first book I'm going to be talking about is Mary Beth Keane's The Half Moon. She has published with us before. She did a book called Ask Again Yes, which was one of our Penguin picks, and it did really, really well in the market. We were really happy with how it did. It's so beautifully written, and I can say the same for The Half Moon. The writing is, I mean, I feel like I say this every month, but I only come on here to talk about the books that are good. So that's the point of a recommendation, right? Yep. So The Half Moon follows the main character and his wife. And they sort of like going through middle age, I suppose, for lack of a better term, but they're in their 30s. They're kind of trying to figure out life. He bought a bar called The Half Moon, and he's had big plans, but at the moment he's just sort of trying to make things work. The wife is like really dedicated to her career. She is a lawyer, and she's struggling with paying off her fees and sort of just struggling with fertility and things like that. Sort of the things that I think when you start hitting your 30s, you start thinking about a lot more. When I was younger, I couldn't quite relate, but now that I'm like verging on 30, I feel so aged. I know a lot of people, they make fun of me at Penguin because I'm always like, I'm starting to feel it, in the Roman times, people's life expectancy was 35. So I was like, I'm starting to feel my age now at 30. So Mary Beth Keane writes about that feeling of being like in the middle of your life and things not quite being the way that you were expecting it to be or the way that you wanted it to be. And there are disappointments that come along with all of that. And she writes about that quite deeply, and she explores those feelings and those emotions in The Half Moon. Okay, that's my pitch. It's really beautifully written, and it's not really long as well. I don't know. I think, again, it feels like a really good book if you're in your 30s, because sometimes life gets so busy and you just want something that you can dip in and sort of like finish, or like dip in, dip out, and dip in and dip out. And this book lets you do that. There are good like points for you, and you're following this entire town, but specifically this couple as they sort of adjusting to life, and a blizzard hits and everybody in the town gets stuck in the town. So it's a really beautiful book.
Yeah, I remember Ask Again Yes was a great book. People always were recommending it. I remember it was a book club pick as well last year. So she's definitely building.
A lot of people had it on their book of the year. I think the New York Times had it on their book of the year. A lot of and that was sort of also, again, small town America. Very I really like books where you explore characters rather than the storyline. I don't know if that makes sense. So the book builds on the people more so than the story, and you're exploring the emotions and things like that. So both of these books sort of look at that, and it's 100% up my alley for the kind of book that I like to read. So I loved both of them.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks so much, Amara, for your first title. Okay, Nicholas, it's over to you for your first one. Do you know which title you want to talk about first? And I'll share it. You have to unmute yourself, Nicholas. There we go. There we go. Which title?
Maye Maye.
Okay, perfect. Let me share that one. There we go.
Yeah, Maye Maye by Dr. Sipho Sithole. This is a book on the history and heritage of the Gwamaimai market. Gwamaimai market is hugely popular, particularly in Gauteng, but we could, as South Africans, claim it as a natural heritage site. So if the government does not pretend or stop pretending that the people there do actually exist, it could be easily declared a national heritage site. In this book, you get an embodiment of everything that Johannesburg is. You have a constellation of cultures, subjugation of people who, spin upside down the class and classism that Joburg as a city, subjects its people to, and also deals with cultural memory also, how to preserve those memories, and particularly when you change new geographies, you migrate to a different city, and when you're there, you are a migrant, you have those painful memories because you are being ignored, but then you have to survive. And Gwamaimai was once a hostel dwelling, but it had to evolve because the mining town could not absorb all the influx of migrant laborers who needed to survive there, and the community there had to survive. And what do they know more to do that? They know their traditions, they know their culture, so they had to deep dive into that cultural memory to monetize some of the stuff that they can share with the world. And the people who inhabit Gwamaimai, they are keepers of cultural memory. So I like what Professor Bongani Ngulunga, the author of The Man Who Founded the ANC, succinctly describes this book, that it plots, historically the journey of the birds of passage, which are, the migrants, and their refusal to fly away from the city that pretends they did not exist. And, now the youth have discovered Gwamaimai. They cannot stay away from Gwamaimai. It offers a lot, but there's always a misconception of what it is. People just see it as a place where you can buy chisanyama and buy, traditional medicine and traditional attire, but there is so much rich history there and heritage. And I think government need to declare that the natural heritage site. And if you want to understand more of contemporary culture, South African classic history, this is the book for you. And who could offer us this quintessential understanding than Dr. Sipho Sithole, who is a cultural expert of note in the country.
Perfect. Thanks, Nicholas. I have to also say that our first orders on our website, we sold out of this book. So it's definitely getting a lot of traction, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to Samantha. So Samantha, it's up to you next with your first title.
Okay, so I am doing series because we love some book talk going on over here, some lovely romance. So Lucy Score, we know her from The Things We Never Got Over, which did really well for us. And now she has this new series, which is called the Benevolent series, Pretend You're Mine, Finally Mine, and Protecting What's Mine, which just puts it out there for you, So in Pretend You're Mine, we have two characters, which is Harper and Graham, if I think he's Luke, sorry. And so Luke's just this sort of a local town hero, but he's going off to deploy again. And so, there's no chance for love. And Harper's sort of starting her new life, and she doesn't have time to fall in love in any way. Luke's going to be gone within a month. So, it's only pretend. So they pretend to date for a month, but obviously one thing leads to another. In the second book, we have Gloria, who has just come out of a very bad relationship, and she is making up margaritas in her mother's kitchen because she's just trying to self-medicate and self-meditate at the same time with some margaritas. So she's sworn off men completely. And then comes this very larger-than-life hometown hero again, Aldo. And the only problem is he's leaving in 6 months' time. So it seems like all the guys are just disappearing out of the books. But he's got 6 months, and so they share one very passionate kiss together, and that changes the trajectory of their lives. And then the last book, I think, is just a little bit more steamier because it involves a fire chief. Really. And so he's busy off doing his most heroic things, and Mackenzie is sort of just like, he's not the one and she's not the one for him. But then she gets burnt out from her job, and so she moves back to her mom's place. And she meets up with the fire chief, and they have lots of fun together. But then one thing is for certain, that her past is about to catch up with her. And then one of them is definitely going to get burned. So more romance, lots of steaminess, definitely not for the youngsters, but right up your alley. If deep romance, I'm gonna call it, is what you're looking for.
Yeah, Lucy Score, I've been so amazed at how her book sales have gone. The readership for her books have just been, it's astonished me. I've been so surprised, especially when her new book comes out, so.
Yes, definitely. No, she's really great, and she writes really beautiful stories. I know there's a lot of eye-opening stuff in there, but the story, the baseline story is very nice. So yeah, cool. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Samantha. Okay, Sine, over to you for your first title.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So we are very excited about this first one. So first up, I have The Fireside Springboks, written by well-known sports journalist Mike Greenway. He previously wrote The Captain in the Cauldron, which was John Smith's autobiography, and this is his next book. So this book tells us various stories of the Springboks' triumphs and their setbacks from the late 1800s. It starts in the 1890s, all the way up to present day. We have some stories from, for example, Siya Kolisi in there that haven't been told previously. So the idea was really that it's almost like sitting around the fire and chatting with these well-known players about their sometimes very personal stories, hence the title, The Fireside Springbok. So yeah, this is perfect for the upcoming Rugby World Cup that we're all looking forward to. It has a bunch of beautiful color photographs and some very rare photographs as well. Some very fun illustrations from a very well-known illustrator, Dr. Jack. So we are very excited about that one, and we believe it will make a beautiful gift as well, since it comes in a very nice hardcover format. So yeah, that is The Fireside Springbok.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Sine. I think that's a perfect Christmas present for somebody as well. If you're thinking already running a list for Christmas, this is a really nice one to consider as well.
Exactly. Yeah, for the sports enthusiast, for someone who just loves following the Springboks, or someone who even enjoys some history. It's it covers a broad range of stories. So yeah, so that is The Fireside Springbok.
Perfect. Wonderful. Thanks so much, Sine. All right, and Wade, over to you for your first title.
Cool, thank you. Let me just share this. Okay. Yes, so my first one is the new Susan Lewis. This is Susan Lewis's 50th book, so big congratulations to her.
Wow.
It's got a really great plot, though, even though it's already number 50. You think by now she might be running out of ideas, but no, not at all. So this is the story of a young publisher named Marina, who receives, on her desk, she receives the first chapter for a new manuscript. And at the time, she thinks this is just, another aspiring writer, another new story. But as the chapters keep coming in, she realizes that this story is about her own past. And there's only one person who knows about the trauma and the trial that nearly broke her. And now this person is trying to bring this story out into the public. Well, Marina is not going to let that happen, ladies and gentlemen. She's going to do anything in her power to stop them. And so that sets us up for a really big thriller with lots of little twists and turns along the way. Yeah, Susan Lewis's 50th book.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks, Wade. She still also surprises me. Like Lucy Score, she has such a great fan base, and for book clubs, everyone, we see a new Susan Lewis, our customers, buy it. So we're really excited for this. So thanks so much for letting me know.
Very much a staple of the genre, yeah.
For sure. All right, so we finished round one, so we're going to start round two. So Mara, over to you for your second title. You'll have to unmute yourself as well, Amara. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Still not, yeah. Do you want us to skip you quickly? Yeah, if you want to unshare, and then we can come back to you if you like.
Yeah, I figured it out.
There you go. Okay, cool. Okay.
Okay,
So,
there we go. So the second title I'm going to be talking about is Kristan Higgins' Pack Up the Moon. This book has been popping up on my TikTok a lot, so it is definitely a TikTok title, so it has that romance element that you're expecting. But it is, I don't know if you ever read and or watched P.S. I Love You. It was really big when I was younger. And it's definitely along the same guideline. So this couple meet, they fall in love, they have a fairy tale romance, and then the wife is diagnosed with terminal illness, and she writes her husband a letter every month for the first year of post-death, and he sort of like goes through them. And the thing about this book, it's been popping up a lot for me, and it's got great reviews on Goodreads of 4.2 stars. People are loving it, but it is devastating to read. Like you just cry for most of the book, and then at the last end of the book you just don't stop crying. You just like keep going. I know it's one of those books where it's like, but it's cathartic to get it all out, it's one of those titles, and you're sort of following the perfect romance and dealing with grief and bereavement. Obviously, like I said, the storyline of the book you could say it has been done, but I don't think that I've seen a reaction to a book like this in a long time, where people read the book and they feel like they also lost a character, or they also feel like they've lost something. And it really absorbs you into the book, and it takes you on this journey with him. So definitely don't read it if you're currently sad. Read it if you're emotionally strong. But it is worth reading. And then Thomas also has all the other Kristan Higgins backlists if you want something a little bit lighter. So that all of this has come into Reader's Warehouse in the last 2 weeks. And they're definitely worth a read, because I can tell you, if the writing is a quarter as good as Pack Up the Moon, the rest of them are all going to be amazing, but a little bit lighter, I think, in terms of the emotional heaviness that comes up with Pack Up the Moon.
Wow. Yeah, I can see that's when you got to have a tissue box, a whole tissue box with you,
Yeah.
at all times. And then I can just see that book, if you read it and then you see someone else read it, you'll just want to talk to them about it, you know what I mean, to prepare them.
Yes, yeah. So it's one of those things. And I mean, I feel like I've got a trend now that I've realized the books that I chose. All of them are like heartbreaking in their own ways, and they're all dealing with things that you sort of go through in life. But the thing that I love about books and the thing that I love about reading is that it tells you a story and it teaches young children empathy, I think. And so when you as you get older, you continue to grow and learn and read other people's stories and like really join in with them. And I find that true of nonfiction as well, because I really love nonfiction. As a person, I just don't really have any good nonfiction on my list this month. But I think that Kristan Higgins really takes that. And I think all of the books that I'm going to speak about today really takes that and makes you feel emotion. Yeah.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. All right, Nicholas, over to you for your second title. Which one would you like to talk about?
Let's talk about Langabi.
Okay, sure. There we go.
Yes. Langabi is our first title in our new Jacana imprint called Mother. Mother is our new imprint for fantasy, science fiction, horror, and epic stuff that we want to tap into and showcase African folklore in this genre. So we start off with Langabi, very epic fantasy, fast-paced, richly detailed people of Langabi and imagined African kingdom. And when you read Langabi, it's told in the point of view of Olwetu, from this family who are the iron makers, and that is to celebrate the blacksmithing that Africans have been known for, but because of lack of technology, they've never recognized for being, the leading blacksmiths in the world. So the story of Langabi, celebrates African folklore. And when you watch Shaka Ilembe, you might be mistaken to think that Chris Mlalazi was a consultant to the script writing team, because there are so many similarities in that. In Langabi, you have these supernatural creatures that attack Olwetu's family, and they want to know who sent them and what are they doing in this peaceful kingdom. And these supernatural creatures, we call them Imisholo. And these Imisholo are they're made of humans with heads of hyenas, but they're so vicious, they brutal, they attack the community. But who sends them? And there is that entertaining, fast-paced, search for those. And as you traverse through this beautiful landscape of Langabi Kingdom and you meet its people, and if you are an African history person, and even if you're not, but you get introduced to these beautiful large kingdoms that we have in Africa, you might think you recognize Drakensberg, you might think you see the Lesotho kingdoms, because that's epic battles. And you find that the king of this kingdom is very brutal. He is the one that's sending this Misholo. So which is something similar that you find when you watch Ishaka, where you get these white creatures that people don't know where they're coming from, but they work for the kingdom. And we have a missing queen. And now there is search for this missing queen, because the king has orchestrated the queen's kidnapping, and Oletu is the hero of this story. And there is, a strong, exciting points for readers where, the people of Langabi, they come together in love and in the battles that unfold. And Olwetu is the one that saves the day. And we live, because this is a first of the trilogy of Season of Beasts. And so as it ends, in Langabi, Olwetu has fallen in love with the princess, and it ends just there. So
Okay.
if you have this, it's such a beautiful crossover, young adult and adult fantasy, one of escapism to hold you on every page for this coming season.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm glad you guys have started this imprint, because we don't get enough like fantasy like set in South Africa. So I think it's really exciting that we've got this to see what the market thinks. So
I was thinking the same thing actually, Thomas, and then I was like, let me go order it, and I see on Readers Warehouse you guys have it on special price, so I'm going to place my order right now. I'm
Okay,
very
wonderful.
excited to read it.
Oh, perfect. Thanks so much, Mara. Thanks so much, Nicholas. Yeah, that's such a great title. I'm hopefully it does do very well. I think it sounds fantastic, very action-packed. So yeah. All right. Okay, Samantha, over to you for your second title.
I mean, I just can't stop sharing good TikTok books. Okay, so Catherine Center has got a series of books that's out at the moment, but Hello Stranger is the first one that has been adapted for film. It will be screening on Netflix shortly, so look out for it. It is actually, I think it's going to be one of those funny sort of, comedic rom-coms. Well, actually, that's the definition of rom-com, Samantha. But anyway, so we have Sadie, and she has done the most. Like, she just cannot catch a break. And so when she finally does, she has to have surgery. So things could just not go any better for her. And then she decides, you know what, my health is more important than catching a lucky break. So let me go ahead and do the surgery. Only problem is when she finally wakes up, she can see everything but faces. So she's got face blindness. And so she can't let anyone sort of know that she can't see faces. She can't let her vet know. She can't let her neighbor know, who's really very obnoxious and is always there in the most inopportune time. So whenever there's a catastrophe or something inconvenient or embarrassing happens, Joe is there. But somehow out of all of this, she and Joe start a little friendship, and she sort of starts thinking, maybe there's a bit more, but she can't see his face anymore. So she doesn't really know. She can't really sort of read it and, feel where he's at. So this is her trying to sort of figure out life, trying to pick up the pieces of the lucky break that was supposed to happen and sort of see if she can get that back again. And she's also trying to not fall in love with two different guys. So it's very confusing for her, plus the blindness. But you find love in very unexpected places. So pick it up at Readers Warehouse, and then after that, watch it on Netflix when it comes out.
Perfect. Wonderful. What a great title. Thank you so much, Samantha. All right. Sune, over to you for your second title.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so next up I have there we go, it was just loading. So next up we have Dreams and Dust. This is a local title from Footprint Press, and it is such a unique book. I don't think there's anything else like it on the market. So Dreams and Dust looks at 58 mostly short-lived republics that existed within the borders of South Africa since 1795, and it also looks at 20 fictional republics, for example, Bapete Kosweti, Fook, and even Wakanda, which will definitely sound familiar to any Marvel fans. So it's a very comprehensive, very well-researched book. It's a bit on the long side, but it's also one of those books you can keep coming back to dive into the history of one of these republics and take a break if you need to. And it also includes 58 seldom seen historical maps and so many interesting, extraordinary images. So it's definitely for the history buffs, for anybody who loves a deep dive into the past. I believe it will also make a brilliant gift for anybody who is interested in any of these topics. So yeah, definitely worth the read, I would say. Super interesting and unique.
Yeah, I think like anyone who likes traveling, I think in South Africa, this is like a really great book as well. So yeah, I'm so excited for this book as well when it comes out. So perfect. Thanks so much, Sinead, for that title. All right, so the next person is Wade. Over to you for your second title.
Okie dokie. Share the screen. There we go. All right, so this is Savage Beasts. This is a paperback original, or PBO, as we like to call it in the industry. So that just means that it's a brand new book being published for the first time, but it's coming to you in the more affordable paperback edition, paperback format. So Savage Beasts is a reimagining of the Greek story of Medea, the enchantress who fell in love with Jason and sort of helped him to all these various successes, only to be betrayed by him in the end. This version takes place in Calcutta in 1757, right before what would become known as the Battle of Plassey, which was the sort of battle between the Indians and the East India Company, the British. So we follow Mina, who's the daughter of the Nawab or prince, and she falls in love with a guy called James, who's the nephew to Sir Chilcot, this sort of commander of the East India Company. And James would like to betray his uncle. And so Mina agrees to help him because she's now just fallen head over heels for him. Soon there is blood on their hands and they must flee. And where do they go to? The Cape of Good Hope, of course, hoping to start a new life. Unfortunately, after some time passes, their love turns to hate after James betrays Mina. So now we wonder, like, how far will Mina go to get revenge? You know, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, that whole idea. Will she, like Medea herself, murder her two sons purely for revenge? We'll have to find out.
Yeah, I love that cover as well. I think it's fantastic, and
Awesome
sounds like a great book club title as well. This title. So yeah, so thanks so much, Wade. That's a fantastic recommendation. All right, so we're on to the final round. So Amara, over to you for your final title.
I'll remember to unmute myself first this time. So the mute button doesn't disappear. Okay, so the last title that I'm talking about is How to Hide Inside a Tree. It is by Jane van der Riet. It is a local title. It is published by the Penguin local publishing team, and it is set in Cape Town in 2017. There's a water crisis, there's dams, and this woman, this is the main character of the book. She is externally to everybody outside looks like she's handling everything fine. But that's not necessarily the case. She's got kids who are suddenly more difficult than she remembers them once being. And she's working, and her father sends her, there we go. There you go. Her father sends her a letter confessing to a secret, and she has to deal with all of this. And how does she manage? She manages with chocolate and wine, and like most suburban women in Cape Town, I suppose, and with making lists. So everything that she does to help the process, she heard from a friend, is to put everything in like lists of threes, so that it is manageable, and everything is sort of organized into lists of threes as she's sort of going through this. But as she's processing all of these things and these, like, again, midlife stuff, like I said, I don't know why what's going on with me today, where I think all of the books that are about dealing with middle age. But she's having to come to terms with herself, and also sort of understand who she is in this context, and also deal with some secrets and stuff that she's been keeping and hiding from her family as well. So again, like I really normally I have a nice wide variety of books to recommend, but I think I wanted to do things that highlight different women's stories this month for August and for Women's Month, and sort of all of these women that are going through the middle of their life and dealing with all of these factors. So that's Jane van der Riet, and yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, maybe picking up a mini trend in publishing that we're not seeing, you know, with your titles. So. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Amara. I'll just share my screen now for Nicholas for his final book. See, there we go. Nicholas, over to you.
Yeah, excuse me. Eskom, by Dr. Faiza Balim. She's a senior lecturer at University of Johannesburg, and one of key interests are, you know, the key themes in science and technology and the studies thereof. In this book, we, you know, Eskom is part of our lives every day. You cannot escape a mention of Eskom any day, and we know what Eskom is today, and most of it is besieged by endemic corruption. But beyond that, under the surface, you know, the public are not informed how Eskom operates, the history of Eskom. You know, ordinary people do not know that, and I think there's been a lackluster reporting on that because it is not important. But I think it would be impossible to understand the crisis that we find ourselves in the country with Eskom without reading this book. We had discovered all the malfeasance around corruption, which were well documented by Andre de Ruyter. But this book offers us the untold story of the two technological state companies of that have this massive infrastructure built up by the apartheid state. You know, ISCO, you know, from the 60s, ISCO and Eskom. You know, these were two powerful, you know, almost like tech giants of South Africa, highly skilled engineers. And you might ask yourself, why is ISCO featuring here in this book? But when you check, the Waterberg region was where we have Medupi now, and ISCO, because had highly skilled personnel, and they, you know, they secured that cold field belt, and with their technological prowess, they had to secure energy supply from there, and these two state institutions work hand in hand, developing the massive technology that Eskom had. And as a result, these two institutions were seen as proxies of the apartheid state. But Professor Dr. Balim, you know, debunks that myth to say no, they were not, because Eskom particularly had maintained a high degree of autonomy and resistance to that. And within that, there was a huge organizational, you know, labor and union. That organization was almost excluding the government's involvement. There was so much respect for the engineers that worked there, that helped to navigate the power dynamics and the politics then. But then we found, you know, there are different interests in the democratic states to repurpose this massive infrastructure that was built by the apartheid state. And you get also politics where neoliberalism came in, but now there are, private contestations. The energy crisis needs to be democratized, so the public get to understand all of these technical challenges, but in a more accessible way, because this is quite a riveting study on Eskom that helps you to understand. So it is a good companion addition to what you have read on what Andre told us about all the corruption. But this book gives us, a whole insider's view of the history of Eskom, and also debunks the myth that there are no more good engineers at Eskom, but there are a high number of, highly skilled engineers in Eskom that are working there, and they are helping us to navigate through that. And notwithstanding the challenges in the post-apartheid, which is the focus has been corruption, but in those power plants, there are good engineers that work there. So today you'll have a better understanding of what Medupi is, which was the Waterberg power station. But because of it being called Medupi now, because of its slow completion, people have forgotten the challenges of the Waterberg region. So this book will help you to understand the history of Eskom, and will also simplify the commonly used energy availability factor, energy generation. We just know that and we park it there. But Dr. Balim simplifies all of this, and I am happy that people have gone through to Reader's Warehouse and purchased their copies, because it is in the top 100 bestsellers in the country. And I hope many people get a copy and have a full understanding and a sobering view of what Eskom has.
Yeah, I have to say it sounds fascinating. So I definitely think if you're interested in reading the history, this is the book to go for, and what's been happening at the moment. So yeah, thanks so much, Nicholas, for your last title. So Samantha, over to you for your final title.
Thank you, Thomas. So my final one again, is a series. So I don't know, between her and Colleen Hoover, I'm not sure who's the queen, but I'm sure, the throne has, the throne of TikTok, or BookTok, should I say, has room for many queens of a deep romance, because I can't use other words. So this is another series for Anna. We love her. She sells phenomenally well. Like, she's just up there. People can't stop sort of buying her Twisted series, which is also doing really well. And then she's got the King of Pride series as well. So yeah, she's doing the most. The first two books in the series, which is If We Ever Meet Again and If the Sun Never Sets, is basically a duology. So she couldn't finish it because their romance was just so deep and heated that she had to take it into a second book to sort of break it down for us. Like when you look for a sequel, this is that series. So in the first book, we have I think I forget their names now because I'm just stammering, but he's an ex-football player and he thinks himself some sort of icon. I know people just love him. And she's just an interior designer trying to land a big deal. They sort of meet, but they're really not compatible at all. Everything about her is what he dislikes and vice versa. And then somehow through it all, through her trying to design this new place for him. They happen to fall in love. They have this blissful year together, and without thinking twice, they sort of have to go back to their families, and that's where it all gets a bit difficult because, you know, he comes from a wealthier family than what she does, and so there are some very difficult choices that they have to make. In book 2, she then is now recovering from a massive heartbreak 5 years down the line, and Blake wants nothing more than to win back her heart. She's obviously not impressed with any of his flirtatious sort of moments. And so she's like, he's trying to whisper sweet nothings, but nothing is going in, which I'm very proud of her for the beginning. But he's got the sports bar, and so, you know, one thing leads to another, and so he will do anything that he can to get her back. The next 2 books are standalones, and they can obviously be read separately from the first 2. And here we have Chris, and she is trying to get rid of her stepmother to be. And so she pays this guy $10,000 to say, like, do whatever you can to get rid of this woman. And he's like, actually, I want 15. And so she agrees, but he also has one other condition, that he wants a kiss from her anytime he sort of sees fit. She begrudgingly agrees, not really knowing why, but it seems a little bit intriguing. He desperately needed the money, so that's why he agreed to it. But there's a bigger challenge for him, is melting Chris's heart. And then in the last book, definitely we have Olivia, who has a very set plan out for herself. She wants an MBA. She wants to be a VP on Wall Street. She wants to get married and have 2.5 children and all of those beautiful things. But obviously that is not where life takes her. So she meets this guy who owns this bakery, and he's sort of trying to start this off. And so he asks for her help, and then this is how the 2 of them meet. So these are very beautiful stories, but there is a lot of deep love that happens in them. So yeah, new series for Anna Huang. But yeah, she sells phenomenally well, and we're really excited for this new series for her.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Samantha. So yeah, so if you're looking for romance and steamy romance, we've been able to really give our customers a great selection at the moment.
Definitely,
so, yeah,
definitely. We'll keep them going.
Yeah, for sure. All right, perfect. Thank you, Samantha. All right, Sune, over to you for your final book.
Hey, thank you so much. So we are also very excited about this last book. Okay, there we go. So from Legend Press, we have The 7 Skins of Esther Wilding. If you are a fan of fairy tales, a bit of a mystery, a bit of a fairy tale retelling, then this book is definitely for you. It comes to us from Holly Ringland, who is a best-selling author. And this book has been described as a magical novel about joy, grief, courage, and transformation. And at its center, it's really about a sisterly relationship. So we follow Esther, and her older sister Aura was last seen walking along the shore towards the sea. And after that, she's never been seen again. Esther then decides to start looking for her sister, and she goes on an epic journey where she travels from Tasmania to Copenhagen and even to the Faroe Islands. And this whole journey is sparked by Esther finding 7 fairy tales in a journal that Aura left behind. And she also had these fairy tales secretly tattooed on her skin, hence the title. So then we follow Esther on this epic journey of hers as she uncovers more and more of her sister's secrets. So it's about how far someone will go for sisterly love, the power of wearing your heart on your skin, and how and the different ways life can transform when we find the courage to feel the fullness of both grief and joy. So it has very interesting themes that I think a lot of people will relate to, but all with this sort of fairy tale lens through it. So yeah, we also love the cover. We think it's stunning, and we're very excited about the prospects for this one. And the author Holly's previous book, which was a bestseller, The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart has now been turned into an Amazon Prime miniseries starring Sigourney Weaver. So it just goes to show, it just gives you an idea of what to expect for this one as well. And I think The Seven Skins of Esther Wilding would make an excellent adaptation as well. So yeah, so that is our fiction pick for this month.
Oh, it sounds amazing. I think with the fairy tale twist in it, it sounds like it's very different, sets it apart from other books, which is really great.
Yeah, definitely, yes. So we hope everybody will enjoy it and have a good time with it.
Great, thanks so much, Sine. Okay, Wade, over to you for the final book of the week.
Oh, thank you. We are right. So Hazel Gaynor, author of The Bird in the Bamboo Cage, has written a book called The Last Lifeboat. This is a World War II story based on the sort of little known history of evacuee ships that carried passengers from England to Canada during the Blitz. So this story focuses on two women. There's Lily, a young widow, who decides to separate herself from her two kids, put them on one of these evacuee ships and send them to safety while she stays behind. And then there's Alice, a teacher who decides she's going to volunteer to work on this evacuee ship to keep everyone safe. This ship is then unfortunately attacked by a German U-boat, and Alice and the kids find themselves in the last lifeboat out in the middle of the ocean, where they stay for about 8 days. And it sort of becomes a story of, well, who will find them? Will it be someone friendly or will it be a foe? Unfortunately, it is a foe. The Japanese end up finding Alice and the kids, and they become prisoners. And we follow the story from there. So it's a really sort of, it's been described as heart-rending, heartbreaking, really quite a tragic story of World War II. Yeah, really good for book clubs.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that many people might recognize this author from reading her previous book. And I think, yeah, I think it's going to be extremely well written, you know, and I think, you know, it'll captivate a lot of people, which is great for book clubs as well.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thanks, Wade, for that final title. All right, that is it, guys, for this week's recommendations. Let's see, and then I'm just going to quickly just share our bestsellers list quickly. Just go share. Okay, just to quickly just share what's been selling at Reader's Warehouse for the past 2 weeks. So our top 10 at the moment, we have its latest Tony Parks, number 10. The latest Corin Slaughter is number 9. The Andre de Ruyter book is number 8. Number 7 is the latest standalone Nora Roberts. And then number 6 is the latest Leslie Pierce title, Betrayal. Then number 5 is the latest Daniel Silva title, The Collector. Number 4 is the last book in the Seven Sisters series from Lucinda Riley and Harry Whittaker. Number 3 is the latest standalone novel from Kristen Hanna. Number 2 is the Rassie Erasmus biography from Rassie and David O'Sullivan. We still have bookplate signed copies available in our stores and on our website if you're looking to buy a copy. And the number 1 is still The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese, still selling extremely well. It's been getting a lot of amazing reviews from everybody, like we said, Oprah and everyone else. So, and that is it for this week, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Nicholas, Samantha, Sine, Wade, and Amara. And as before, all the titles are listed below, and we'll be back next week with children's book recommendations. So until then, everyone, have a good week and happy reading. Bye, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye.
Thomas.
Thank you.